Hey everybody, before we get started on this video, it is sponsored today by Mondly. Mondly is a fantastic language learning app currently with over 125 million users and is in the top 5 of language learning apps worldwide. It has various aspects of speech recognition, allowing for real-time feedback to help improve your pronunciation. It has daily lessons as well as weekly and monthly quizzes to keep yourself moving at a solid speed. And it focuses primarily on a lot of practical content, mainly focusing on things that you can use in your just general everyday life. Not to mention, fluent speakers are the main source of lessons and audio material to make sure authenticity is paramount. And currently they are offering a fantastic 96% off lifetime access during their New Year sale at mondly.app/Bricky. So go check out the description and go to mondly.app/Bricky to get 96% off your lifetime access and start on 41 different new languages today. Thank you very much for sponsoring this video. Marvel Rivals is a culmination of every red flag you can think of. It is a live service, it's a free-to-play hero shooter focusing on a massive Disney conglomerate, financing itself through battle passes and microtransactions. It is, for all intents and purposes, everything the general internet hates in a game. However, it is also a contradiction, as those that would complain about each of those individual aspects of the game no longer have the ability to do so, because it pulled out the best kryptonite alternative it could find, which is being very good. This is doubly surprising as the game is made by NetEase, a company also not known for making games of this style or caliber. The Chinese company is often well known for making a whole shitload of mobile games you have probably never seen or heard of, and because of the excessive monetization of those mobile games and their popularity overseas, they have become an extremely profitable, if inflexible, business. While they have attempted to gain a bit of a larger Western market in the past, nothing has been quite as brazen and successful as the launch of Marvel Rivals. And the key word there truly is brazen, because so much of this game is just so forward. So Marvel Rivals is a 6v6 third-person hero shooter. It has 3 main classes, being Vanguards, Duelists, and Strategists, which are tank, DPS, and support respectively, and I will refer to them specifically as those terms because I refuse to have another game trying to reinvent the word zombie. Game modes consist of capturing a point, pushing a payload, or a combination of the two together. The only real difference in this whole formula is whenever you play the competitive ranked mode, which has the thing where you go back and forth on the payload type maps. If this is sounding a ton like Overwatch, well, you better learn to live with that feeling real quick. The main standout of the game are how they do the individual characters. Each of them have their main weapon, but also have a variety of abilities ranging from the relatively simple to the extremely convoluted and everything in between. This, of course, also comes with an ultimate ability that is on a generally long cooldown and is shortened with damage done, healing given, and time pass. If this is sounding a lot like Overwatch, well, you better learn to live with that feeling. What is generally fascinating about this game outside of many other hero shooters is that there is such a general wealth of characters, and how they operate goes against the norm. Rivals is neither more hero nor shooter, but a surprising combination of both. In games like this, normally there is a specific focus on abilities or gunplay. One tends to be predominantly more important. In Rivals, it initially appears like it is a far more ability-centric game. If you were to load up a character like Spider-Man, we see him swinging around the map, moving at speeds almost impossible to catch, we would definitely think it's all about the abilities, playing the game almost more like a fighting game than a shooter. But then on the flip side, you might be given a character like the Punisher, who is gunman mix shoot guy, but he's a really good gunman mix shoot guy, and having great aim turns him from a decent character into an absolute menace. What really throws this though is that characters who appear to be ability centric and others who seem to be gun centric can actually end up blending the two in a way you would never expect. Take the tank Penny Parker, for example. Penny is a control tank, someone who locks down a specific area and makes it very hard to take from her. In doing so, she is all about placing a nest of spiders and spider mines, creating a no-go zone for anyone trying to push, push and keeping herself healed up. This is something she is very good at, while also advertising on the tin that this is how her abilities are. However, I started playing a ton of Penny Parker because I was sick and tired of dive characters getting behind me and turning my squishies into ground pork. See, Penny's alt fire is actually a web snare that has a seriously short cooldown. In a game as fast as Rivals, not moving even for a single second can be a serious detriment, especially if you're DPS. Turns out, if an Iron Fist, Black Panther, or Wolverine wants to ruin your backline, hitting them with the snare basically wets their socks. Even double so when you realize that her gun actually does some real damage, but much like her web, has a bit of travel time attached to it. I found out one of the best ways I can dominate as Penny Parker is being really good at leading targets with my shots, leading with my snares, and even leading with my mines. What I expected to be a purely ability focused character turned out to be pushed up to 11 by having great aim with them as well. One would assume being good at aiming makes you better, but not significantly better. But then we can take the reverse side of it all. Moon Knight. On the surface, Moon Knight appears to be a much more traditional DPS when it comes to his abilities. High damage, especially in headshot burst attacks, along with relocation abilities to keep him mobile and keep the damage online. It's only after playing him a bit that you realize that he is an ability-focused DPS, and that's thanks to his onks. Onks are an amazing option. They are particularly good at copying Stencil Joker to allow you to get an additional 5x mult without actually degrading its power, because Stencil Joker itself doesn't actually count towards your bonuses. It's really good at keeping a location completely under wraps because Moon Knight aiming is as foreign to him as decent mental health.
It's important that you wake up, man. Please.
What's crazy is that the onk has a radius that is deceptively large, and so having the right onks in the right spot will allow you to completely lock down an area if they aren't destroyed in time. Instead of a major DPS that needs to aim, you get to be a DPS that gets to lock down. If you, for some reason, really need to lock down an area, you can always call upon the moon to dissuade them from their poor course of actions. Which leads us to what feels like a classic Dota 2 balancing philosophy. Nothing can be overpowered if everything is overpowered. For the first month of Rivals release, it felt as if every single time I played as or against a new hero, I immediately had to reconsider whether or not they were actually bad. There was such a hilarious wealth of players arguing and flip-flopping on whether or not one of the heroes was busted or not, and it continued for weeks on end. Originally, starting out, people thought Iron Fist was completely insane because of how he would just come out of a dark alley, fist you to climax, and then somehow do the same thing to the rest of your team before wall running away. Everyone was clamoring to say that he was overpowered. Then, pro players got a hold of him and began learning the game. So, no, Iron Fist isn't overpowered, it's purely a skill issue. Every character can be silly until you learn how to fight against them. Venom was considered the best tank in the game, and now Hulk and Doctor Strange are pummeling him out of that spot. I vividly remember people saying Black Panther was trash, and then watching him insta-delete 3 of my backline as I am completely unable to track his movement. Scarlet Witch had one of the scariest ultimates in the game until you realize she's a 250 health hero with the same top speed as Professor X, only more exposed. The meta in this game is busted, and changing substantially due to more factors than you are ever prepared to expect. Oh, and also, as of a week ago, people changed their minds on Iron Fist again.
And there's not much Iron Fist being played because there's just better options out there that are more consistent.
I've been an Iron Fist main since the game came out, and I've hit GM3, essentially one-tricking this character. A lot of people say that Iron Fist stops becoming viable around Plat, which is kind of true.
So, how can this exist? How is every single character able to be busted overpowered at the same time, and yet the game doesn't fold in on itself? Well, it's mainly due to 3 factors: team size, skill ceiling, and supports. Rivals is a 6v6 game, and the time to kill is generally very long. You may think a character does enormous damage, but for the most part, it's very rare that someone can get a kill so fast that you don't have time to react to it happening, because even a slower reaction speed player can still react. You will be able to use your escape or get a heal or something like that, and that mitigates the insanity of some characters. Normally, if you're getting one-tapped or close to it, it's because of some silly DPS or support duel is occurring, or other factors outside of your control, like a rocket ultimate or Hawkeye being a bitch. But this also does have the inverse effect too. Since it's 6-on-6, losing a singular player to a pick is bad, but it isn't the end of the world. And because there are so many people in the game, it also means that no matter how good you might be, it's incredibly rare you are actually able to just solo dive the enemy team and get away with it. It's practically a meme how often bad Spider-Man players try to target squishy enemies and just completely screw it up and get bought by a Mantis with her, and I quote, natural anger. You genuinely can't just force yourself into an enemy team and win. The skirmishing, the back and forth where two tanks fight two tanks and healers keep them alive, that is the main meat and potatoes of this game. And it's why the maps are even built for that kind of playstyle. They all have a major lane and some flank lanes, and normally, yes, you do run it down mid because you are a team of chunky people backed up by damage and a support. So it doesn't matter if you're the best Winter Soldier or Iron Man or Venom out there. You can't go in by yourself and make fetch happen. There are too many other players and too many other overpowered players that will stop you. You need to be good at the game in other ways, and that's where the skill ceiling comes in. Contrary to what it might seem, it is actually decently hard to be very good at Marvel Rivals. On the surface, it doesn't appear that way. You feel strong as hell and can easily play it casually, but this is one of those easy to learn, hard to master style games, because not only do you need great aim, but you also need good positioning, movement mechanics, and team play, as well as ability usage to really know what's what. One of the worst characters in Marvel Rivals from a win rate percentage is Black Widow. She is in the dumpster, and she has been there for a while. You know what they say about Black Widow?
Drop the shield. Headshot.
That's 3.
Yo, this character's broken. See?
The player you're looking at right now got to the highest rank in the game, one above all, with none other than Black Widow.
The general difference between high level play and low level play is monstrous for a game like this. For example, Jeff is a low elo terrorist. Players can't aim very well and don't understand how to position as well as they should. So Jeff is able to super easily go underwater, heal up, and also get massive team ults with little to no challenge. He also barely has to aim. His bubbles spit out in front of him, his damaging attacks are an AoE, and his heal is a giant stream of water you can just splash all over your teammate's chest and back. He's a great low-level support. In high level, he is considered one of the worst supports. That was originally along with Rockets, but Rocket got buffs and is now a terrorist. That is the level of discrepancy we are dealing with here. What you, layman Johnny McGamerman with a wife, 2 kids, and 1 hour to game every night of the week think is good is absolutely nothing compared to what the unemployed bracket thinks they're good. Wolverine was considered terrible. Then people realized he can Bloodborne Bagman your tank, and he became really good. And then they buffed him to 350 health, and now he is a complete terror that not even your supports can stop you from dying by, which is an important final point. The supports in Marvel Rivals might be the most broken healing characters I have ever seen in a video game like this. The sheer lunacy of some of these heroes is hilarious. And guess what? I do not think they should be nerfed. Well, that's not true. They should be nerfed. Mantis does too much damage, and Luna Snow's ultimate is up way too often. Stupid ass Luna Snow. I'm out here sweating my ass off. The moment she's in danger, she's just like... The amount of healing each of these healers do is beyond crazy. They out-heal duelist damage and then some. They are constantly able to put out levels of sustain that would make other video games weep. And you know what? I'll say it again. This should not be changed. Why? Because it makes the game more fun. You have dealt with a team that has had only one healer. I know you have, because there's no role queue here. You must see what a painful difference it becomes. Not receiving heals or not having enough healers makes the game that much more unfun, because healers being strong means you get to be alive longer, which means you get to play more, which means you get to have more fun in the game. That's the secret sauce. Healers being strong means everyone else in the game stays alive longer, and you're alive longer to play more game. Have you ever gone around a corner and had an awkward duelist dually duel where it's just you, Punisher, and Iron Man? How fast do you die? Almost within a second or two, max. Have you ever had a tank that had gotten out of position and been caught by their tank in a couple DPS? How fast do you die? Insanely fast. The healers are the pillar that holds up this gameplay formula. They are the ones that keep this game working as it should. They are the ones that make it so damn fun as well. And what's even better is that the healers themselves are fun to play because you are often so much more than just a heal bot. There is no mercy in this game. These aren't medics. These are combat medics. And the amount of times I've tried to flank a Mantis only to get walloped is way more than I'd like to admit. This, of course, also goes even farther when the type of support you are playing is more than just a heal bot. The closest this game has to a more typical mercy pure healer character would be Adam Warlock with his major burst heals and revives. But even he, if you have good aim, can be a menace of damage with his high damage hit scan attacks. But Rocket Raccoon, Loki, Cloak and Dagger, they are all so much more than just healers. And if there were more supports in the game, I think there would just genuinely be as many people trying to find supports as there would be DPS. Tanks, in fact, struggle the most to be picked more than anything. But I'll settle for them figuring out one of the major issues of the game more than anything. That alone makes me happy to see. The supports are busted, but that's the help. This pushes us into another mechanic that really helps out the general balance and composition of the game, and that is the team up mechanic. Now, if you're making a superhero game, you need to have a team up of some sort. That's a given. But it also lets you do so in a way that will let you build out balanced team comps by incentivizing you to pick different roles. For example, the best one for this is absolutely the Asgardian team up. Now, the effect itself is very good, but what I care more about is the characters you need to pick in order to have it go off. Hela, Thor, and Loki are in fact a duelist, tank, and support. So it pushes you towards that solid team comp. The best team up right now by far is Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. That one is 2 tanks and 1 duelist, which isn't as diverse, but it still does create variety by getting you your tank roles set up and 1 supercharged DPS. Plus, you technically only need Hulk to make 1 of the other 2 work. You don't need all 3. Groot, Rocket, and Jeff, 1 tank, 2 supports. You probably only pick 1 of those 2 supports, but still, it's fleshed out. Adam Warlock, Mantis, Star-Lord, 2 supports, 1 DPS. Rocket, Winter Soldier, Punisher. I can go on with all of this. Well, I can't actually, there's only so many, but it's a really good idea that works well with naturally creating powerful compositions made by the awesome lore combos of the cast. Now, not all are created equal, of course. Magic, Black Panther, and Psylocke are not what I'd call the best team up of being 3 DPS. The 3 dive DPS, in fact, and Hawkeye Black Widow runs into the same issue. But you know, when there's such an important lore implication between characters, it isn't too bad of a thing to let them have some cool team ups, even if it isn't perfect for game comp. It's just, when you look back on it, and you see everything they've done, it just feels obvious, doesn't it? Incentivize players to combine certain heroes, make supports more fun to play and let them do damage, give characters an easy to learn and hard to master skill ceiling. It's the kind of shit you put in an outline when you sit down in a board meeting to talk about making the game, but implementing that is a whole other thing entirely, and they have seriously knocked it out of the park on this one. There are a lot of other parts of the game that I would want to talk about as well, mainly the destructible environment of each of the maps, the various ways they have implementing breaking a deadlock on an objective, and a few others, but I think I've said most of the majority of the important stuff revolving around gameplay. But this is a free-to-play live service game that sells skins with a battle pass. So there is absolutely something that needs to be discussed when it comes to that. First, the luxury battle pass is something that will never expire, which is a rather interesting way to circumvent the FOMO issue that comes with these games. On one hand, not having the battle pass expire is absolutely amazing. Allows players who come in later to get rewards from way back when. On the other side, it is the luxury battle pass, so you do still need to buy it in order to get it. I feel like it's a pretty decent middle ground overall. I hate when you feel like you can't get into a game because you've missed all the cool items you could have gotten, but I also at the same time understand that video games, especially this one, are expensive as shit to make. And this is probably a decent method in keeping that revenue stream moving for most people. There are obviously costumes that can be purchased wholesale, and the prices are, well, not cheap, that's for certain. They aren't the worst thing I've seen, but they definitely aren't cheap. But what elevates this all is just, well, everything looks so fucking good. I cannot stress how absolutely fantastic it is that they decided to say, screw the MCU and not at all bother with making any character look like their real life actor counterparts. The whole world of comic books is a stylized series of visuals that have their difficulties translating to the big screen, even at the best of times. You can't make the Punisher, who looks like he swallowed a fridge, to be perfect on live TV from a visual perspective when your game looks like this. Hey, full respect to John Bernthal. He killed it.
I want you to know that I'd do it all again.
But he would not look like the comic book Punisher because the dude's arms are the size of trucks. Plus, what is the best way to sell skins? Well, it's to make the skins look hot as fuck too. It's so humorous because it seems like companies have gotten the completely wrong idea when they end up making some of these games. Like, hey man, like I'm super all for diversity. I love characters of different genders, ethnic backgrounds. Thanos had it right, brother. Genocide needs equal rights too. All that shit adds to the game, but it's also very important to have a little extra spice, which is a great idea to make them, no, not tepid, not warm, but hot as fuck. People like to play as sexy characters. It's always been that way. You think I played the female Vonu Sovereignty Sniper in PlanetSide 2 for the hitbox? You think I'm learning Chun-Li in Street Fighter for the UN debasing normals? He who controls the porn controls the market, and brother, I didn't buy the Psylocke skin for the deep lore, because it's a self-fulfilling loop, right? The characters are hot, so you get interested. You play the characters. People then make porn of the characters. People who aren't interested in the game watch said porn, and then they get into the game. Then hot-ass cosplayers cosplay the characters, and then bam, more people want to know what that character is from the game. They come back in. It's a cycle of cash. There is absolutely a time for more realistic, grounded, more natural looking characters. But this is a Marvel Comics game, my guy. And the character designs were already perfectly done from the get-go. The Marvel comic designs look amazing. And then, oh God, then whoever was in charge of the rest just did it insane. Liam O'Brien as Doctor Strange, Troy Baker as Loki, Laura Bailey as Black Widow, Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man, Nolan North as Rocket, and of course, Steve the Tank Krogan Blum as Wolverine. I mean, could you have picked better casting? Is it possible? You create a video game chock full of the best voice actors on the market with characters that already have heavily and often emotionally charged backstory, make them hot as fuck like their comic book counterparts, and you give them all overpowered kits that makes you feel like a comic book accurate version of their character. Is there any reason this game made $130 million in its first month? In fact, it almost makes me worried because let me put on my intellectual glasses. Concord failed for a million reasons. These are a few of them. And a lot of people definitely memed on it super hard, much like the Morbius situation when that came out. Now, maybe I haven't spent enough time on For Honor, but I still have a tiny shred of empathy left in my body. So while I don't mind making a few memes here and there, I do genuinely feel bad for all the people who no doubt lost their jobs working on Concord in the past several years. However, on the flip side, I hoped it would send a message that it's time for this genre of game to die. A live service hero shooter with battle passes and loot boxes attempts to make a golden goose like Overwatch or Apex, and instead leaving us with a million games in the live service graveyard. I thought finally, this is the wake-up call. This is the course correction we needed all along. And Concord was the sacrificial lamb to herald the change. And Marvel Rivals just came in here and absolutely stomped that flat. That's it. It's over. All the lessons that have been learned are now undone. NetEase came out here and showed every single game executive out there that $130 million in a month is available still on the table. Never mind how good the game is. It's available. Great job. Here we are again, back at square one, the bittersweet addition of this overall very strong game release. I jest, of course, but only a little bit. Execs are like sharks. Once someone proves it can be done, the course corrections begin immediately. Call me a bit of a doomer, but you know, I've played this game before. Truly though, the most important question that is asked with these games is, Where is it going to be in a few years? It definitely won't be fantastic as a spectator sport because esports has completely imploded and the game is just so overstimulating that I don't think it'll end up being watchable. If you thought Overwatch was too much, this just isn't going to happen. Luckily, it does have Jimothy Shitpenis gamers attached to it, and so long as it maintains that casual market, it will continue that player base. Content updates really are going to be the major question, and so far, so good. Season 1 gave us 2 new whole characters with 2 more on the horizon, a really cool ass new map, balance changes that overall seem to be pretty intelligent. There isn't a single hero that I truly think playing means that you'll be throwing the game. And God, I hate to admit it, because like haven't the Marvel heads gone enough over the last 20 years? Me sitting here waiting for my Titanfall 2, Bloodborne 2, good Mass Effect game, another Marvel property comes out and absolutely bangs. Universe is unfair, but they're doing it. They're genuinely doing it. I don't know if they will continue to do it, but great Scott, they're doing it. Come back to this video in a year when I end up being so completely wrong. But for now, we are in a good spot and heading in the right direction. Marvel Rivals is a genuinely amazing game, despite showing all the signs that it would end up being another dead hero shooter. It's free to play, and honestly, I would recommend it. It's one of those games where you think it won't be your jam and then you vibe with one particular character and realize, hey, maybe I do like this. The time you get your first 6-man reset with Winter Soldier and has you looking like Frank during max play or Willem Dafoe, depending on what team you are on. I genuinely can't believe I'm saying this. Marvel Rivals in the current state gets a 4 brick. It's almost just optimization that it struggles with, and some of the skins are a bit pricey, but with the battle pass thing, I gotta be honest, there are so few overall issues to speak on. The game, if all live services were like this, many would still die because people only have so much time and money, but we would definitely not besmirch them as much as we do. Marvel Rivals, as someone who is so jaded on Marvel, so tired of it, I can't recommend this game enough. I'm as shocked as you are. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I am most likely getting back from MagFest from the Sagem Slam, which hopefully I can make a video talking about soon. But the next video is actually going to be a very special one. So I'll see you for that one. It's very near and dear. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.